What is happening, everybody? It is Trey here. I'm joined again by my dad, Sean, and today on Reactions to the Classics, we're going to be taking a look at Led Zeppelin's fifth album, Houses of the Holy. We're going through their entire discography. It's been a treat to do that. If this is your first time joining us on the channel, we appreciate you stopping by. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic albums of all time, do a detailed track-by-track review of them, and just like today, it is usually the first time we've heard the record. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. If you'd like to link up with us more, we have our Facebook and Patreon links down below. All that to say, let's get into some quick facts.
This is the fifth studio album, released in March of 1973. It's number 148 on the Rolling Stones Top 500 Albums of All Time. Sold over 10 million copies. Spent a few weeks at number 1 in the UK. Spent over 39 weeks on the top 200 Billboard charts in the US. A couple of those weeks at number 1. Trey, this thing benefited greatly from most of the band members building home studios. That's what happens when you sell more records than you ever possibly imagined from the previous 4 offerings. So they were able to bring stuff into the studio. Most particularly, Page was able to almost completed before they ever got started as a group.
Yeah, and you mentioned they're pretty much the biggest band in the world at this point, by far. Their live shows were creating a bunch of buzz, so they were starting to really hit their peak commercially as well as creatively here. So they really enjoyed using the Rolling Stones mobile touring studio.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups back then that did that. We come across that a lot.
And they used it on the 4th album, so they wanted to use it again here. And so they actually took it to Mick Jagger's mansion called Stargroves.
Yes.
And so they recorded some there, as well as the Electric Lady Studios in New York and Olympic Studios.
Like many of their previous albums, this is produced by Page, mixed by Eddie Kramer, and this was a turning point in Zepp music. There wasn't dark bluesy material anymore. It was more a cleaner rock sound, brighter, more vibrant guitars.
And the cover art on this was inspired by a novel called Childhood End. It's a collage of several photos which were taken at Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. Featured 2 children, but it was a frustrating affair that lasted 10 days. And then the photos of the children were taken in black and white, multi-printed to create the effect of 11 individuals that can be seen on the album cover. Well, our opening track is The Song Remains the Same. This was originally going to be an instrumental called the Overture.
And you can tell because the first minute and a half has no lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. And then Plant started getting some ideas together about, hey, let's write about whenever we're on tour, and then they wanted to call it the campaign, but they worked and decided to just call it The Song Remains the Same.
Yeah, and on this, Page speeds up Plant's vocals just a little bit, and Page plays a Fender Telecaster, a 12-string Rickenbacker like our boy George Harrison did back in the day. For me, I like this song. I could tell, like I said, it has long bouts of instrumental stuff in there, but it's a good way to start the album. Definitely different start than their previous albums.
This is what I would just describe as a fun song, which Zeppelin didn't have. I'd say a bunch of fun songs.
No, I'd agree with that.
Up to this point, a little brighter in tone, a little bit more laid back. I thought this was a good opener. And the guitar solos were the highlight for me. Then that'll take us to a ballad, the Rain song.
Yeah, and they wrote this thing, rumor has it, because George Harrison asked them, well, you guys can't write a ballad? And even the first few chords of the song, if you listen, are like Harrison's Something. And this was written by Page and Plant. It's over 7 minutes long, Trey, and it reminds me the most of some of their work from their first couple albums, in that it's tons of instrumental work and then just a little bit of lyrics thrown throughout those 7 minutes.
Yeah, he really talks of his love almost as the seasons, so the song progresses. I thought that was a nice touch. And the instrumental, you have Page on electric and acoustic guitars in here. Jones is on the Mellotron, so you get a unique sound in this. This was one of the highlights for me on the record. I think Plant's voice especially was on display here in his best vocal performance.
I think it's everybody firing on all cylinders in a different way than we would think.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
This is not Stairway to Heaven. It's not any of those things, but it is an excellent way to show their versatility that they really hadn't been able to show before.
Yeah, and at 7 minutes long, it it allowed the song to breathe a little bit
Yes.
more, and I enjoyed it for that. And then that'll take us into track 3,
Over the Hills and Far Away.
and this was written by Page and Plant all the way back in 1970 at Bronner. So they took something from back in the day and reworked it a little bit. I thought that was a nice touch there. The drums really come in bombastically at about a minute 30, so I think it was nice in the way how it started. This was another one of my favorite tracks on the record. It came in at number 51 in the United States as a single.
I thought you'd like this track because you mentioned before it starts out acoustic and kind of chilled, then it gets into the electric, livelier version. Part of it's taken off of a poem from Tolkien, which just kind of keeps with Plant's method here of using Lord of the Rings and different Tolkien stuff. I really enjoy it. This is my second favorite song on this album. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and there's some good lyrics in there. Plant mentions that many dreams come true and some have silver linings. I live for my dream, pocket full of gold. And then just the way we end with a beautiful coda, it just kind of put everything that Zepp does well together. Was almost encompassed, I think, in this song. As you mentioned, acoustic, electric, instrumental sections.
Plant's voice really shines.
Yeah, folklore-like lyrics. So a big hit for me. And then they'll end out side A with the CRUNGE.
I'm already laughing, guys. If you love this song, I'm sorry. This is the 5th album that we have done of Zepp, Trey. And I will have to say this is my least favorite song. So let the comments begin. But
no, I'm with you there. That's what I wrote down in my notes. That this is just. I do appreciate the fact they're getting out of their lane, trying.
Yeah, they're trying
new.
some. I respect the experimentation, which is going to happen in another couple songs as well, but works much better in my opinion in a couple songs.
Because really here they're doing a takeoff of James Brown. Going a little funky, and it didn't work for me lyrically and musically. It was just off.
I agree 100%. That's really all I got to say about it. I don't want to blast the boys any more than that.
Then that takes us to Dancing Days, starts off the B side. This was inspired by an Indian tune they heard in Bombay. They started working on it at the Enjoyable Sessions at Stargroves.
Right.
And you will notice this is a bit more optimistic type of song. He really just tells this girl what she wants to hear. The middle portion of this record was definitely the weak point with the CRUNGE in this. I
agree.
This wasn't terrible, but it didn't stand out to me.
No, that's it for me. That's it. Middle of the road. It's okay. It's fine. It's nothing great. It's not horrible. And that takes us to. I'm going to butcher this. I've tried to do this. I've tried to.
We got Bronner down.
It's just Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's the best I could do. This was written by all the members. It peaked at number 20 in the U.S. The title's a play on the word Jamaica when spoken in an English accent, as I just butchered. It was meant to imitate reggae. Its genesis was traced to Zeppelin's rehearsals at Stargroves in '72 when Bonham started with a beat similar to the 1950s doo-wop, twisted it into a slight offbeat tempo upon which a reggae influence emerged. The distinctive drum sound was created by placing 3 microphones a good distance from Bonham's drums.
Yeah, and a lot of critics didn't like this or the CRUNGE.
A lot of fans and critics hated both those songs.
Just because it's so eclectically different and styled than what people are used to with Led Zeppelin. But for all the bad that the CRUNGE was, I really enjoyed this track.
This is my favorite track on here, and I know that might not be popular either. If you didn't like our take on the CRUNGE, now you're probably like, these guys are crazy. But this is my favorite track on here.
Me too, man. The reggae, I don't know, everything just worked together with it.
It did. Led Zeppelin doing reggae.
Yeah, the drums from Bonham were a highlight and just showed why he's such a good drummer, I think, because he can pull off the hard rocking number, the blues number, and now he's pulling off some reggae. That really just, I think, highlighted the backbone of the song. Really big hit for me. I enjoyed it. And then we go from, this lighthearted song into a heavy, one of the more ominous Zepp tracks, No Quarter. And this, No Quarter means no mercy.
Yes.
It's really playing off the Viking. Mentions Thor in there.
Yes.
Going to their Nordic roots. Page applied Verispeed to drop the whole song a semitone in order to give it a thicker, more intense mood. And the guitar solo was achieved by a direct injection and compression, so that's why it gives it such a unique sound.
Yeah, and the lyrics don't come in until 1:45 into this song as well, and the unique sound is very much, in that first minute 45, you're going to kind of be like, what is this exactly? What are they playing
It's
here?
almost like we have like a keyboard solo and throughout here as well.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of sound. For me, it works. I don't love it, but it's a pretty good track on this album.
I enjoyed this. It might actually be a top 3 track for me. I think that the ominous tone that it set forth was a good differentiation, because we didn't really have that on this record. It was more, like you mentioned, a brighter album. So this kind of highlighted that, hey, we're still gonna go back, throw you a heavy track in here, and that guitar solo was very unique that Page pulled off, something that we're not used to. So I dug it, and then we close out with The Ocean. This was written in a more lighter, tone as well, and essentially they're talking about the ocean is almost like the ocean of fans. They've gone everywhere on the mountaintops, this and that. Plant mentions that he's now, I mean, they have all the accolades, this and that. Now he's singing for his 3-year-old daughter.
And I think a pretty cool thing is in concert, as the concerts went on and she aged, he changed that from 3 to 4 to 5 and so on. And it has a nice little a cappella break in the middle of this thing with Plant, Bonham, and Jones. So I like this song, probably top half for me in it, which kind of brings us to our favorite tracks. There's only 8 songs, so that is good. I always like that. I think, previously in the 60s with a lot of artists that we've reviewed, they got to have 12 to 14 songs, and that makes it tough. There's only 8 in here. You can kind of pare it down. It makes for a good, clean listen. For me, you're gonna make me say it again. Jamaica is number 1 for me.
I echo that. Really like Over the Hills and Far Away.
That's number 2, and I like the Rain song.
Yeah, and No Quarter for me as well. And then that'll take us to our overall score of the record. As you mentioned, I do like these tight 8-track albums. I'm probably going to be a little against the grain from a lot of Zepp fans here. From the 5 albums we've heard so far, I'd have this pulling up the rear. I do love when they pull off their more blues, harder rock inspired, and then just straight up folk elements. Here we kind of had that square in the middle in some of these tracks. Still, really though, a really solid, good album, and so I'm going to be at an 8.0.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. I may like it better than a little bit of their earlier work. I'm kind of in the minority on that. I really like 3. Obviously, I really like 4. I'm going to be at a 7.5 on this, which it's a good, solid album. I mean, and I got to give these guys credit for stepping way out and doing something totally different, man. Much kudos for that, because they could have, after 4, they could have just popped off more of the same, but they tried to do something different, and everyone tells us their next offering is top flight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Physical Graffiti and double album there, so that should be awesome. And let us know what you think of Houses of the Holy down below. Your favorite track. As always, Dad, appreciate all the research, and we still got more Zepp ahead. So if you enjoyed this video, y'all be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. We upload multiple times a week in a variety of genres, so there'll be something for everybody. And until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. We're happy listening, and we will see you next time.